incredible story to share with you.
Britt is safe.
A witness called the police department the last time anyone saw the boyfriend and daughter in Virginia at a Walmart store.
The search is over now for young Brittany Smith.
Britt, we will now be home for Christmas.
Something triggered this witness's memory. What was that?
The witness felt that they had seen the suspect on a Nancy Grace television show.
Look at these two.
They were recognized from national news reports outside a nearby Safeway store and picked up.
Investigators say now that Brittany is safe, they can really turn their focus to finding out who killed Brittany's mom, Tina Smith.
There has been a ray of sunshine on this very dark event.
The witness felt that they had seen the suspect on a Nancy Grace television show. And in this case, we believe that that is an accurate statement. This person does match the description, the same name, identification as the suspect wanted by Virginia.
We are taking your call straight out to Scott Lehman, reporter, CNN affiliate WSLS, joining us out of Roanoke. Scott, thank you for being with us. When do you think Easley will get out of his private jail cell in San Francisco and come to a Virginia courtroom?
Well, hopefully tomorrow. You know, if he doesn't fight extradition, then hopefully that process can get going. And I just found online, I check Federal Pacer site every night, and the FBI has charged him with actually fleeing the state with Brittany to avoid prosecution. So hopefully now that the feds are involved as well, at least in the court system, that'll help expedite this process along.
You know what? That's very valuable information, Scott Lehman, that now the feds are in on it. How do you anticipate, Scott Lehman, for Easley to be transferred from San Francisco to Roanoke? Would he fly, or would he be in back of one of those prison vans?
Well, in previous cases I've covered like this, they've sometimes flown commercial. Now, with this guy, with what he's accused of, and as well known as he is,
Hey, wait a minute. I don't want him propped up beside me on Delta. What do you mean, flying commercial?
Exactly.
Ew.
Well, yeah, well, that's your white-collar guys I've covered. I've been doing this about a dozen years now, and I cover your white-collar guys that flee the state. They might come back commercial, but this guy, with what he's wanted for and how well-known he is, then you got to figure they're probably going to just transport him cross-country, which I've heard of that doing that before as well. The big thing, that a lot of the police departments look for is who's going to pick up the tab, honestly. Sometimes a lot of police departments I've talked to in the past about cases like this want the feds in there because, A, they can pick up the tab transport, and B, they have a lot more security. The marshals, of course, do this for a living, so they know exactly how to transport these guys.
Let me tell you something,
so they want
Lehman.
them involved.
I know they've got the money because they're taking plenty out of my paycheck and yours too. So I know the feds have the money. Let them bring him home because little known story, when Ted Bundy was being transported, he actually was considered trying to flee from the police car, and the cop pulls out a gun and goes, "Go ahead, run for it, Bundy. Please run." Well, needless to say, he didn't run. Long story short, you expect him to be at least en route tomorrow. Is that what you said, Mr. Lehman?
That's what we suspect. From what I've been following, they found a car that they drove out there, so that tells you, this is just speculation, sort of, but they found the car, so that tells you that maybe that Jeff has been talking to them, or else how else do they find a car? So if he's been talking to them, hopefully they've worked something out where he doesn't try to fight this thing tomorrow.
You're on a first-name basis with him? I heard you call him Jeff. Do you know each other?
No. Well, we've been covering this story for so long now. No, I don't know.
You feel like you know him?
Well, I don't know about that, but easily, if he is talking to the investigators, hopefully they've explained to him, this is how you kind of route you want to take. And if he tries to fight this thing, which I've never seen happen, quite honestly, then we don't know where this ball goes from there. But hopefully tomorrow they walk into court, extradite, because I know a lot of the folks here, of course, want to get him back here.
With us out of Roanoke Live, in addition to Chief Ray Lavender, the Roanoke Police Chief, is reporter with CNN affiliate WSLS Scott Lehman with all the latest. Unleash the lawyers. Joining us tonight, high-profile lawyer Gloria Allred, L.A., Christopher Amos, defense attorney, D.C., Joe Lawless, renowned attorney and author out of the Philadelphia jurisdiction. Gloria, all three of us have handled extraditions. Usually, they're like 3 questions. Are you Jeffrey Easley, as named in this charge? Are you from Virginia? And are you contesting your extradition? It's really, there's a governor's form letter from Virginia saying, I want this guy sent back to me on these charges. And even if he fights it, once they prove his identity, which takes about 10 minutes to compare to a fingerprint, he's got to go back, even if he fights it.
Well, exactly. And Nancy, I want to take a moment of personal privilege and have everybody in the audience put their hands together right now and give a big round of applause for Nancy Grace for featuring this and helping to save this little girl.
Well,
You know, Gloria,
news and issues.
I do appreciate that. But I really believe without that lady, Teresa Shanley, this girl could be dead, Gloria, because look back at all the kidnaps of children that we have seen. Typically, I would say well over 90% of them end in murder. And this courtship that he was having with this little girl, Gloria, you and I have seen this a million times. We believe he murdered the mother. You don't think he would murder the girl if it came down to it to avoid the Virginia death penalty, Gloria? What do you think?
Well, and that's why it was so important that you urged your viewers to be on the lookout for this man because of the potential risk of harm to this little girl. And obviously, this little girl wasn't going to be able to get away by herself if, in fact, she was kidnapped and she was a child. So we're going to have to assume she was kidnapped. That's why you and Teresa are responsible potentially for saving her life.
Thank you, Gloria. Joe Lawless, what about the extradition? What's the holdup and why is he propped up in the psych unit? There's nothing wrong with him. If he can evade the feds, Lawless, then he is not crazy.
You're saying that like they just decided, well, we're going to give you a cushy room in a psych ward. Somebody, either a prosecutor or one of the investigating officers, decided he needed to be evaluated. That's why he's there, but he's locked up. He's not going anywhere. Extradition is going to be a snap. If it takes more than tomorrow, it's because they didn't get the paperwork there. He can contest it all he wants. He's out of the state real quick. That's not going to be a problem.
What about it, Amos?
He'll be back sooner rather than later. And, I'm not sure having the feds involved is going to smooth the process, but they'll definitely get him back faster than Virginia will.
You know what? I think having the feds, well, typically they're so slow, and I was a fed. That's how I know. For
Correct.
3 years. Slow as molasses, but they will get their man back to where he's supposed to be. Now, let me go back to you. Scott Lehman joining us out of Roanoke. Tell me again, what are the federal charges he's facing?
It's fleeing interstate with the girl, obviously, to avoid prosecution because I guess the feds are figuring that he knew once he leaves with her that he's going to be wanted for something. That's not his daughter. He has no legal right to her. So what they're alleging in this document, which I have right here, is that he knows that and then flees out of state regardless.
Got it. Back to you, Jane Casares, legal correspondent in session. I want to talk about the mother. Her funeral service now set for this weekend. They have been trying to wait, hoping the little girl could come to her mother's funeral. A 12-year-old girl now without her mother. In addition to everything else she's going to have to live with for the rest of her life, now she has that burden. Jane Casares, I understand they're not releasing the COD, but they're placing the time of death between mid-morning and that evening. Do we know why?
They are not saying, but they are continually doing investigation at that home because after Easley spoke with investigators, and remember, 4 investigators from Roanoke flew to California. After that conversation with him, they went back to that house and went in the backyard to take pictures and do investigation. Why, we don't know, but this is a homicide case, and that's the focus now.
To Ron Martinelli, forensic criminologist with Martinelli Associates, joining us out of L.A. Ron, placing the time of death, they've got a big window there. But, they may not need that time of death to prove who did the murder. My question is, what about, could they be basing it on, for instance, the time that her body was found and maybe her last cell phone call or her last call from the home or the last time she logged on to Facebook? I mean, it may be something external, not forensic evidence found on the body.
Well, there's a couple of different ways that they can do it. They can attempt to do it forensically. by body temperature, taking a look at the ambient or interior temperature of the residence, and comparing that to the time that the body is found, and see what state the body is in, as well as far as something called lividity. They can also take a look at it technically by taking a look at the last telephone call that the mother might have made. If the call is a digital call or the phone's a digital call, they can go back just by pressing a button and moving back through all the primary or the last calls that she made. And they can also get the phone records right away and determine the last time a call was made or accepted.
Even local phone calls, Mr. Martinelli?
I can't tell you about local telephone calls. Well, as a matter of fact, yes, I can. Using the, the new phones now, which are digital, and they're almost computers in themselves. Depending on the type of phone system they had in the house, yeah, they could also get local calls as well.
12-year-old little girl.
Brittany,
she can't make legal decisions.
Brittany.
Consent is irrelevant.
Brittany's last entry on my